All right, we move forward. Well, the world moves forward. We just do our thing. And this video is about a punching bag is to your arm as expression is to your mind. A punching bag is to your arm as expression is to your mind. Let's wrap around it a bit, and let me have kind of like this mini discussion. Interesting. Okay. I don't know if it's clear, but the more you punch, the stronger you become. So the more you express, the stronger your mind becomes, right? Or let's just look at it this way. What happens when you punch a bag, and like when you're punching a bag, right? Like the more boxers punching bags, what happens? And there are two trains of thought. One thought is I kind of punch 100 times, or I have 100 punches. And another one is I have one punch 100 times. Bruce Lee's train of thought is I would not fear a man who's practiced 1,000 kicks, but a man who's practiced one kick 1,000 times. The idea behind that logic is that with every punch, he is kind of like resetting from zero. Every kick, he's resetting from zero and checking how he kicks so that his body kind of like develops this whole continuity with it. So the punching bag is to your arm, because when you're punching, what you're doing, when you're punching the punching bag, the existence of a punching bag, the punch itself is basically your arm kind of like you getting used to punching more, faster, targeted punching, I guess, power punches, I want to say a lot more control over your body, over how everything connects when you punch on the actual structure. All the positives of kind of like the consistency behind punching a punching bag. So I am day in, day out contributing a bit. Let's just say 100 punches a day, or 100 push-ups a day, or 100 something a day. What do they contribute to? They contribute to the parts of the body that support that kind of thing, right? So a punching bag to my arm is basically the external connection that allows, my arm becomes the relationship between me and the punching bag, right? Because I'm punching it. I am punching the bag. So the arm is basically what becomes the connection between me and the actual bag. And the more I actually interact with the bag, the more I punch it, the more my arm kind of like establishes a strong, firmer punch, right? You are getting better, you are getting stronger, you are developing in a much more expressive, what's the word I'm looking for? I'm going towards expressive. Your arm is expressing itself through the action of punching a bag, and is developing its own kind of like presence within your identity, right? Now, it's the same, or what I said, a punching bag to your arm is the same as expression is to your mind. It's the same as when you express, because the relationship between you and the bag, punching bag, is your arm, or your leg if you're kicking it, but like you get my idea. So the expression, is there a difference between when I look at the camera and I look at you? Okay, I'm gonna check this when I'm done. I'm gonna check this video when I'm done to see the difference between looking at the actual camera and looking at myself. But hear me out. So the idea is the expression, the relationship between the punching bag and you is through your arm. And here, a punching bag to your arm is as expression is to your mind. Your relationship between your reality, because the reality lives in your mind, right? Between your reality and the world is through expression. The more you express yourself, the more the world responds. The same way when you're punching a punching bag, what happens, it responds to your arm's impact, and then your arm kind of like develops something in that response. That's the relationship kind of being created. So a punching back to your arm is as expression to your mind. That means in this world where we exist, the more we express into this world, then ultimately our mind kind of like explores itself differently, experiences itself relative to our reality differently, and is able to kind of like develop that relationship between, the mind develops a relationship between the actual world through the reality that we actually live in. So what happens is basically the more you express, the more avid your vision, the more avid your, I do not want to use the term identity, but I feel human beings kind of like, move through identities in this world. Like they kind of like develop these many identities, and especially for this world, like I could actually like move forward without developing any identity. But the problem with that is it becomes very, if I do, the identity would be temporary, and then I have to be strong enough to let go of that so that the next time I think of something new, it kind of comes out completely differently. I think that's what people call reinventing yourself, right? Because you're always kind of like reestablishing something in a different way. But so the more you express, or like as you express, and express hard, express fast, express clumsily, it doesn't matter. Like once you're punching a bag, and I noticed that because I don't have a coach, and the first thing I did was I threw a punch, and then I was like, holy shit, like, it felt weak, right? And then I tried to punch harder, and then suddenly I kind of felt like parts of my arm that are kind of going, eh. And then I kind of like stepped back and was like, all right, so like, if I were to punch, how do I punch? And then like, the more I moved, the more I kind of realized that movement is being generated from the core instead of from the arm, and that I'm just punching, right? And the more I actually do that, the more I kind of started realizing how like my arm follows, and I started noticing like with every punch, how the different parts of the actual punch act. At first I'd do this and then I'd punch with my hand. And then afterwards I'd do this and then I'd kind of like follow through. And this is still probably wrong, but ultimately I feel a bit more impact and a lot less impact on the actual punching bag and a lot less impact on my arm. So there is growth, or there is at the very least exploration, because what you're doing is you're exploring the relationship between you and the actual punching bag through your arm. And the last thing you want is to break your arm through a punch or to hurt your wrist or something like that. So you're establishing that relationship in order to develop some form of like understanding, or at the very least you're getting information from that established relationship. And it's the same with expression. Because like I express, and then what I'm getting information, and then I collect the information through different expressions. Ultimately, every expression is an experience on its own, and then suddenly all the information becomes kind of like a bit of more of an understanding, and with understanding, there kind of like becomes a shusmo. The more I actually like understand things about the different parts, is like when to hold on your fist, or when I punch the fist itself, when it kind of like has that impact, versus when I'm like. Right? Like, the difference between like, throwing your fist and all of these smaller things that you kind of like establish through different experiences of expression, because every expression leads to a feedback loop or an or an experience of some sort. I expressed and nobody responded. That's an experience. I expressed and everyone responded negatively. Is an experience. I expressed and one person responded positively. It's an experience. And that is it. It's experience. And the development of all these things are a bit more of a of a structured. As I say, it's like at first it's information and then understanding, and after that you kind of have some knowledge, and beyond knowledge becomes wisdom, because you can apply the same structure that you started with information, because you're expressing, right, and you express, you get information, and then ultimately you kind of like whether you express interest. Or whether you're expressing through just kind of like doing something, or whether you're just expressing yourself and like reflecting on the surroundings and going like, this is not really like connecting or working. Again, like, what does it mean to actually like, express who you are? And that's you, everything between you and this world is the relationship with that, is the expression, is that your own expression that is received by the world. And don't get me wrong, it does get received. But if your expression sucks, then basically it's not gonna respond in something that kind of like makes you go, ooh, I don't know what. So as you punch, your arm kind of like is the relationship between you and the punching bag. And as you basically like interact with the world, your expression is kind of like, the relationship between your mind and the world. And ultimately, we are not really interacting with the world, we are interacting with a certain reality that we have of this world. It's very hard to see the truth given how we identify with ourselves. And the more you express, the less of the identity becomes, because what we're doing is we're kind of like, we're expressing that identity and we're kind of like seeing if it works or not. And if it works, you're kind of like giving yourself that part of the world, that corner to live in. And if it doesn't work, what you're doing is you're canceling it out, and either kind of like you have the option to onboard a different identity that works, or to kind of like explore the world as it is and see if there's any necessity for an identity. And I don't know, I have a feeling that this is kind of like this is kind of powerful, right? Like, expression is the relationship between your mind and the world. Then that basically allows you to interact with reality and allows your reality to keep adjusting and changing. Cool beans. What is there but love? I love you guys. Yeah, fuck yeah. Bye.